Welcome everyone to Monday Night. Spoiler warning, we are talking wrestling news and the latest developments in all these stories actively ongoing. We also have plenty of exclusive news to share, as always, that you can find right here. Our headlines today, our top story will be about the upcoming Wargames Survivor Series event. We will be discussing the card there as well as what I'm expecting for the actual Wargames match. We're going to talk the early reception for Julia, Stephanie Vaca and Delta's debuts in NXT. We're going to talk Dominic Mysterio and who he's going to be facing. We're going to talk AJ Styles, why the WWE said that he cannot go into the TNA Hall of Fame and why it means that he may become a TNA Hall of Famer next year. I'm Peggy McDonald. Thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the show. By all means, jump in and say hey, or don't, whatever works for you. We're going to talk harassment of Samantha Irving, because that seems to be ongoing, and it's also someone that I've been shouting about on Twitter for a while now. PWInsider are reporting about men and women in WWE being paid the same, which is not quite true. We're going to talk that Obafemi rumour that nobody seems to want to source. We're also going to talk a little bit about recent growth of the channel, as well as what's planned for Saturday night main event, the fact that this is being treated as a PLE, how the WWE are putting it together, and a report from Worked Wrestling that is 2 months after I've already reported it. Worked Wrestling seems to be on the way back, so it's an interesting one. We already have 48 people here. I'm aware that it's daylight savings here in the UK. That can mean we have slightly different schedule here, but we're trying to make sure that we reach the right people. 52 people here already, 22 likes. Let's keep that ball rolling as we have plenty of news to share. Let's start, as always, with our top story. Let me know what you think about this one, because we are talking Survivor Series Wargames. We have now had confirmation that Bloodline versus Bloodline is set for Wargames. The WWE have not announced it officially, but we have been discussing that one here in spoiler warning for the last 3 months. I can state, here's an exclusive for you, Paul Heyman is expected to be in attendance for Survivor Series, but I have not been able to confirm just yet whether he'll be out in the arena. He is expected to be there for the show, however. The current plan for the Wargames match is Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa versus... I said that wrong. The current plan is Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn, the S confused me, against Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. Survivor Series is expected to be the quietest show Judgment Day have had for months, because the focus will be quite clearly on the Bloodline Civil War. Now, there are a number of possible other names that could be added here. We have spoken just then about Paul Heyman, but there's also an outside possibility that we're going to see The Rock make an appearance. I do not expect to see a Coolio, Tala Tonga, or any combination thereof. No Zilla Fatu either is expected to be turning up at Wargames. So, at this point in time, the Wargames plan is Bloodline versus Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Sami Zayn versus Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. To say that Triple H is very excited to get Jacob Fatu in a Wargames match is a massive understatement. Jacob Fatu in a Wargames match would be a mood. Also planned for the card seems to be the most obvious choice for Cody Rhodes is Kevin Owens. They've already started building towards that with the Crown Jewel match between Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, which is expected to write Randy Orton out for a couple of weeks and give him one of the many breaks he is entitled to. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens seems the obvious choice. We've only had the first match of what is expected to be a round of 3 for the two men. Yes, I expect Kevin Owens, unfortunately, to lose all 3. If you're a fan of Kevin Owens and actually want him to win the championship, shout out in the chat and let me know. CM Punk versus Gunter has naturally been discussed. We've been talking about that one for a while. With Punk coming out of it beaten down, bringing his win record during his second run with WWE so far to 2 wins and 2 losses, or 50%. Goldberg, however, certainly complicates things, and I still expect him to pop up during Crown Jewel to set up a match with Gunter, so let's see when they pull the trigger on this one. I do think it's an obvious choice for the Royal Rumble if we do have the match with CM Punk at Survivor Series, but I would say it also makes a lot of sense to do it the other way around. With Goldberg being involved at Crown Jewel, as we're starting suddenly to see rumours of, this leads him then to the Survivor Series match. Goldberg loses. We then go to CM Punk at the Royal Rumble. Gunter wins clean. So I'm looking at CM Punk versus Gunter for the Royal Rumble and Gunter versus Goldberg for Survivor Series, but we'll see what happens with that one. As regards women's matches, they are still trying to work out something for the Women's Tag Team Championships. What I will say is that both women's champions are scheduled to defend. I do not expect Rhea Ripley to be involved in it. We'll see what's going to happen with the Wargames matches. I have suggested that we will see Liv Morgan and Nia Jax on one team and Rhea Ripley on the other. That would mean no championship defences for the women at Survivor Series. We have 83 people watching, 31 likes. Please do keep those thumbs ups coming. It does guarantee people join this chat and keep the show going, so I appreciate very much that you are able to do so. Still plenty more to cover, plenty of news, and I will of course now be catching up with the chat. So shout out, say hi. Michael says hi Tom, welcome Michael. Spider-Boss says Joe Hendry is the most over guy in TNA and TNA doesn't pull the trigger on him. Yes, because he will not sign a new contract. Sean says hi Tom, welcome Sean. And Spider-Boss says what's next for Obafemi? More on that shortly. HCar says hi Tom, any news about Dominic Mysterio's opponent tonight? More on that shortly. Everton says who will Cody face at Survivor Series? Just covered that one as well. Declan says what's the pig? Which you absolutely should. Ross says evening all, welcome Ross. And HCar says hi Tom and chat, it's the same here in Ireland with daylight savings. Thank you for the clarification. Spider-Boss says it's difficult to believe that rumour of women getting paid equal to men in WWE, especially when Logan Paul gets more money than the entire WWE women's division, apart from two. Sean says, do you know if it's true that WWE turned down the opportunity of AJ Styles being inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame? More on that shortly. And Damien says, any news about Roman being in London next week? To my knowledge, Roman Reigns is not expected to travel to London. He is expected to be in every other instalment of SmackDown. He's missing one a month at the moment. Dad says, big up Tom, do you know if any SmackDown superstars could be on Raw tonight? Also, who's the host for Saturday? I would expect to see Jey Uso on Raw tonight. As regards a host for Saturday, they have not at current announced one. Trekopedia says, what's up Tom? Everyone help out Tom please and hit the like, subscribe and share. Thank you Trekopedia. We've been doing extremely well on this channel and it is all of you who drop in, who say hi, who hit like that are making it happen. So thank you. 3 more likes to 35. HCar says, Tom, do you think WWE is planning Bubba Ray Dudley versus Ridge Holland? No. Kai says, are you a fan of the Rock movies? If you are, what ones? Jumanji was fun. Jumanji was genuinely fun. Never saw Doom. EDC says, hello Tom, do you know if the Usos reunion is temporary or permanent? At the moment, it's temporary. However, I don't expect Jey Uso to get a significant push. I have reported over the last few months his push essentially ended and he was waiting for Bloodline. The brief Intercontinental Championship reign did not equate to a push. Trekopedia says, did anyone else have issues with Triller, formerly known as Fight TV, this weekend when it came to Bound for Glory? Who did watch Bound for Glory? Trekopedia's interested? Shout out in the chat. Everton says, who will Bron Breakker face at Survivor Series? I don't believe he'll face anyone. And do you expect the Wyatt Six to have a match on a pay-per-view soon? No. I think the Wyatt Six, the earliest we would see them is the Royal Rumble. I actually don't think we see them on a PLE until WrestleMania. Declan is missing Becky Lynch. Yeah, appreciate that, HCar. With daylight savings, I do expect there to be more overlap when it comes to certain streamers. Wrestling Days certainly fits that bill. We are somewhat treading on toes, but we've still got a decent amount of people, so I very much appreciate it. As it says, Tom, I think Bloodline match ends in a no contest at Crown Jewel. We'll see what happens there. Spider-Boss says, last Friday, WWE added a fatal 4-way for the women's tag team titles at Crown Jewel. Yes, they did. And David says, why is Kevin Owens going to Saudi Arabia when he's against going to Saudi Arabia? He was against going to Saudi Arabia, then he started going to Saudi Arabia. Basically, it came down to Sami Zayn. Sean says, is JBL signed with TNA, keeps appearing during Nick Nemeth matches? No, he's technically signed on a Legends contract with the WWE, and all appearances in TNA are vetted by WWE. Declan says, 6 years ago, the WWE had the Women's Evolution. Time flies. It does indeed. I reported for a while after that the WWE were interested in Evolution 2, but would not do so if they could get women onto the Crown Jewel card. At the same time, I was also reporting that Natalya had been requesting a match in Saudi Arabia. She got her wish. Noob says, hello, Mr. Colohue. How are you doing today? Doing very well, thank you, Noob. Welcome to the show. Juan says, hey, Tom, I have a good suggestion for AEW. You have Ricochet heel Samantha Irving as his heel manager and announcer. Manager went heel on Twitter as of late. I don't think she did. I think Twitter went heel on her. Kevin says, WWE don't want AJ Lee to be in... No, Kevin. Nobody mentioned AJ Lee. You've definitely got that one wrong. Spider-Ball says it was emotional to see the Usos reunion on last SmackDown. I'd imagine it's going to be emotional on next SmackDown when you see the reunion. This is spoiler warning of the OG Bloodline. Sid says, when is Charlotte Flair making her return? When she is ready, when the storylines are ready for her, I would expect her at the Royal Rumble. Chris suggests Roxanne Perez versus Stephanie Vaca. There is a suggestion of that. Sean says, have you watched Halloween Havoc yet, Tom? Bits. Haven't been able to watch all of it, but I've watched the matches that are interesting to me. Oh, so that's TNA Plus. Cool. Wikipedia just says, always happy to be here. Ross suggests Bubba Ray versus Ridge Holland at the ECW Arena on November 6th. Kevin says, do you think WWE failed the Wyatt Six so far? No. I think people are massively impatient and they've been trained to be by Vince McMahon. Chris says, Jordan Grace, only 2 losses this year, Roxanne Perez and Masha Slamovich. Yeah. And next year, the losses will be to names like Becky Lynch. Wikipedia says Halloween Havoc was really good, though I thought at the end Joe Hendry was going to make the save. I like what they did, though. Calvin says, what's up, Tom? What's up, Calvin? Nice to see you, mate. Get the Table says, Dom is against a former world champion tonight. Chances it could be Rhea? The chances there. Certainly the rumours out there at this point, and the WWE have been tracking this one carefully. Not exactly what I would say. We'll jump ahead to this one, because why not? My expectation is that Dominic Mysterio will face off against and lose to Damian Priest tonight in essentially a good old-fashioned Judgment Day off. I know that's a little disappointing. I know it's kind of obvious, but I do expect them to test the water tonight with Rhea Ripley attacking Dominic and potentially Dominic attacking Rhea. But we'll see what they actually do with that one because there's a lot of different ways they could take that. With 86 people watching on YouTube, 35 likes, 5 more gets it to 40. Let's keep that ball rolling. The reaction backstage to the debut so far on NXT of Julia, Stephanie Vaca and Delta, now known as Zaria, has been tremendous. WWE, particularly Shawn Michaels and Triple H, are thrilled with their arrival, thrilled with their debuts, and thrilled with their performances. Indeed, the NXT women's locker room is said to be hugely in favour of the arrival of these 3 individuals, eager to work with them, and believe that it is creating a legitimate buzz around the NXT women's division that hasn't been seen since the era of the 4 Horsewomen. So everyone is on side of this one. Everyone knows most of these women will not be sticking around for long. That includes Roxanne, it includes Cora Jade. They will be main roster bound relatively soon, so they are relishing the chance to work with them as they can. Rhea Ripley has already requested permission to go down to NXT to wrestle Zaria. It's been denied for now, but I do think she will eventually get her way. Now, the main roster is hyped up heavy because they're intending to be on the main roster relatively soon. They are said to be in NXT to learn the style, and then they'll move on pretty much immediately. But this is WWE's new fast track in action. There were some concerns, for example, with Jade Cargill. Triple H didn't believe she should have skipped NXT. He believes she should have spent at least some time there to learn the quote-unquote WWE style, and that would have cut out a lot of the botches and mistakes that have unfortunately happened so far. So everyone now goes at least briefly through NXT to learn the WWE style. This is the fast track. This is what is working, and this is what will guarantee us a whole lot of top-level talent going through NXT in a very short amount of time. This guy says, with several TNA contracts expiring at the beginning of 2025, who do you see staying with TNA, signing with WWE or AEW? Jordan Grace, WWE. Mike Bailey, TNA. Josh Alexander, TNA. Joe Hendry, WWE. That's exactly what I expect. Spider-Ball says, it surprised me that Roxanne got pinned last night at Halloween Havoc. I thought Cora Jade would take the pin. That's not really how they do things in NXT. They are trying to create a thriving championship division. And of course, having Roxanne pinned means that she's pretty much guaranteed to defend her title against the person who pinned her, Stephanie Vaca. Essentially, she's going to work through the entire collection. Sid says, I'm getting bored of seeing JBL keeps helping Nick Nemeth win a pay-per-view. TNA keep booking it. HCar says, Tom, any news on Becky Lynch's return to WWE? I've shared more news and more exclusives on Becky Lynch than anyone else. Unfortunately, there is nothing else at this point. Declan says, why is Becky Lynch getting the hate on Twitter? Because she made it on the top 20 list. I've seen zero Becky Lynch hate on Twitter. I think, unfortunately, Declan, we just need to cultivate your feed a bit more to get rid of the dickheads. Spider-Boss says, Dom versus a former world champion. My pick is Damien Priest. Judgment Day will get involved, but Rhea will make the save. Blue says, hi Tom, the new women in NXT have been killing it. Michael says, wonder what the WWE sponsors would think of an intergender match. That, unfortunately, is the difficulty when it comes to WWE. You can't really sponsor an intergender match because nobody wants to do it. Alice says, Tom, when do you see Sami Zayn joining the Bloodline? I can see it happening this Saturday. I don't see it happening at Crown Jewel. I don't see the story progressing on PLE. Everton says, is there plans to have Cena face Cody since Cena said Mania is unexpected? Or is Cena likely to face Gunter or Bron Breakker? Difficult to say when it comes to John Cena. There's a couple of options. I would be leaning towards Bron Breakker personally. Gunter versus Drew McIntyre seems more likely as regards Cody Rhodes. The Rock is where I'm heading. Daniel says, hello Tom. Welcome Daniel, good to see you. Spider-Bell says, Julia and Stephanie Vacca and Roxanne were so quick and smooth last night at Halloween Havoc. Cora Jade was lost. Okay, I'll take your word for that. Chris says Roxanne Perez should stay in NXT until the next year. We only have November and December. Many people will be doing much the same. Appreciate that, Daniel. Throwing out some hellos to everyone involved. Always helps the chat rate, and I appreciate it. One says, according to Maria Kanellis herself, she said she's been hospitalised yet again. Is this one reason TK might part ways with her? There's a number of different reasons. This guy says, are there any plans to start pushing the women they called up this year? Lyra, Blair, Kiana, James. They had a plan for Lyra Valkyria. That was the only one. Wiggly says, hello Tom, how are you? Doing well, thank you Wiggly, welcome to the show. Get the Table says, sorry to go back to Dom. Don't be sorry, ask the question mate. But do you think WWE would do a Rhea versus Dom match? They are reaching out to find out what the interest is. This, I believe, was intentionally leaked in order to gauge public perception. Rhea would destroy Dominic. I did mention on my show on Friday that Dominic Mysterio is more than happy to be destroyed by Rhea Ripley. But that was always the case now, wasn't it? Calvin said it's been years since anyone's seen Dawn Marie. Someone told me she was at the Hall of Fame. Did you know she studied medicine and nursing? I did not. HCar says, any news that Tamina returns to WWE? No. Ray says, I'm getting bored of NXT because they don't have many names from other companies. They have more names from other companies than they ever have before. Blue says, is Rhea versus Dom tonight? Dom is supposed to be fighting an ex-world champ tonight. I've covered that one. I believe it's going to be Damian Priest. Calvin says, I wonder where Luther, Reigns and Mark Jindrak are today. I don't. Chris says, I think Cora Jade was fine last night at Halloween Havoc. Me too. Sid said, the YouTube stream is going perfect. Spider-Bell says, who do you think will take off the AEW Women's World title from Mariah May? There are a number of very good options. I wouldn't go as far as Mercedes Money. I think she's pretty much happy in her position. There are others who could be involved in there. I'd be looking towards Britt Baker, to be honest. Sean says, Halloween Havoc was Cora's first match since her injury. She may have had rust. Marcel says, I'm sick of my bed listening to the show, the podcast. A little distraction is nice. I'll be back in the chat Friday. No worries, mate. Hope you feel better soon. Wiggly says, I believe Tamina announced her retirement, didn't she? Not that I can remember, but... EDC says, do you know if they have Royal Rumble winners in mind? They've already decided who will win the Royal Rumbles. Sean says, do you think the plans for Lyra were put on hold because Becky is gone right now? No, it's completely unrelated. We have 89 people watching at the moment, 36 likes, 4 more gets us to 40. Please consider being the ones to get us there. AJ Styles has indeed been prohibited from going into the TNA Hall of Fame by the WWE. He did want to go down and make that appearance. The WWE refused to let him do so, despite the fact that he's injured and they can't use him at the moment. I've spoken about this at length, but I just want to reiterate. This is because the WWE are trying to convince AJ Styles to sign a new deal, and working with TNA in any capacity is currently part of negotiations. The WWE are fully aware that AJ Styles wants to work with TNA and fully aware that TNA want to work with AJ Styles, but they want those dates to be separate from his WWE dates. He works a limited date contract, and they want to make sure that if he makes say 5 or 6 appearances at TNA, they don't lose 5 or 6 appearances on WWE programming. So there is an ongoing discussion there as to the nature of what AJ Styles' contract will look like. I'm confident that if he signs a new deal, which includes working with TNA in that capacity, he will be able to make that appearance and go into the TNA Hall of Fame, which he richly deserves. Richly deserves. HCast says, any news on Dustin Rhodes? Yeah, he's still wrestling. Ishii says, hello Tom, hope you're okay. Doing well, thank you Ishii, welcome to the show. Rosal says, my prediction is Punk is a mystery opponent tonight because I think he's Gunter's next challenger. We are too close to the Saudi show, which he's trying to avoid. Ishii says, will we get the Wyatt 6 tonight? Yep, they're finally back. Blue says, if Hayter isn't the next women's champion, I don't know why I'm watching AEW anymore. I mean, she's been positioned very strongly. Kai says, what year would you say was the best year in wrestling? Difficult, because AEW being added to the mix has certainly helped the situation. I think the best years of wrestling are right now. It's difficult to say what the best year was. Also, when it comes to wrestling, as most of you know, I'm a drama and entertainment fan rather than a wrestling fan, which is why I don't watch that much AEW. The wrestling is potentially better. Couldn't tell you. Calvin says, do you think HBK can bring some fire and spark back to the A-Town Down Under story? I hope so. Someone needs to. Sean says, what did you think of the Boogeyman prank on certain superstars that WWE put on their YouTube channel? It clearly designed to appeal to kids. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there. Appreciate that, Wiggly. Appreciate your sourcing as well. What I will say is that I've not personally heard any talk of a retirement, but I know she's not planning to wrestle for the WWE pretty much ever again. Calvin says, AJ's a TNA original. Wouldn't be fair if he couldn't go into the TNA Hall of Fame. He would eventually be able to do so. He'd just have to leave the WWE or sign a deal that permits him to do so. Everton says, are there any plans to have another pay-per-view in Wales like Clash of the Castle? At this point, no. Spider-Boss says, Jamie Hayter is my pick for who takes off the AEW Women's World title from Mariah May. Get to Tables has said, have they said how long Styles is out? Do you assume they will add more time onto his contract due to his injury? Yes, I do believe they will, though if he's willing to sign a new contract, they'll immediately accept that one as a replacement instead. As regards how long, they've not said anything. AJ Styles right now is trying to pad the numbers. The storyline that he's going to be playing is one of impending retirement when he does return, so being able to say this is a really serious injury fits into that. You will see a lot of kayfabing of the injury coming forwards. This guy says, has Mike Bennett and Matt Taven's contract status changed since they're still on TV? No. HCast says, any news on Xavier Woods versus Rey Mysterio? Not at this time. They're building towards something. Everton says, do you expect The Rock to be a crown jewel? Nope. Toad says, who do you think will take the title off Mercedes Money? It's a difficult one, that, because she's basically making that championship her own, and it's her reason to have feuds. She is going up against Julia Hart soon. Personally, that's where I'd make the change. That's where I'd personally make the change. Kai, haven't seen much of Motor City Machine Guns, but I'm enjoying what I've seen so far. Calvin thinks 2004 was the best year, and then says another year he can't pick one. Wiggly says, I would say 2001 was one of the most important years, which is not the question. Riyadh says, hey Tom, hope you and the family are doing well. Doing very well, thank you. A lot of painting happening right now, and I've still not broken all of the wall, but we're slowly but surely getting there. Blue says, I don't know about best, but my favourite year in wrestling was 2002. Was a big fan of the SmackDown 6. Declan says, how long do you think Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed going? I'd imagine that's going to last. And I'm going to say one match, because Seth's going to beat him. David says, do you have any wrestling t-shirts? I have quite a few. I have an Era of Wyatt, Bray Wyatt t-shirt from his first championship win. I have a first edition, literally first batch Alexa Bliss t-shirt, and then a couple of Seth Rollins t-shirts. Oh, and of course, Jey White. Danelle says, do you think they rushed the OG Bloodline reunion? Yeah. They ran out of time to do anything else, unfortunately. Spider-Boss says, what's next for Bron Breakker's IC title reign? New competitors. I would lean towards Kofi. Riyadh says, hey Tom, have you heard anything about a live event in South Africa? They were supposed to come here in 2020, but unfortunately the pandemic happened. No, I haven't. I haven't heard anything about South Africa. WWE seem to have moved on. HCast says, any news on Shinsuke Nakamura? Depends if you're listening to PWInsider or not. One says, Dave Meltzer saying the WNBA being competition to AEW Is he saying the election is competition? He never runs out of excuses. To be clear, both of those things are competition for AEW. Like, have you seen the amount of views that the elections get? Hector says, Tom, realistically, why would Impact continually book JBL? Do they really think it's that big of a draw? Yeah. Wiggly says, did you watch any of TNA and NXT this past weekend? Quite a bit of NXT, not much of TNA. Shout Games says, hi Tom, I saw that you retweeted your Malachi Black going back to WWE post again. Do you have an update on the situation? Nope, more of the same. And it's one of those wonderful things where the longer it goes on, the more I seem to be proven right. Kevin says, hey Tom, what's your favourite storyline of all time? Ooh, interesting. That's a difficult one. There's been some very good storylines. Certainly, I enjoyed the original Triple H heel turn when he left DX and went to the corporation. That was good stuff. It's a tricky one. I'll have to get back to you with that. That's some good stuff. I liked Undertaker versus Kane the first time around. Those are the things that I remember most fondly. Nowadays, Bloodline all the way. That's been fantastic, particularly the Sami Zayn element. But yeah, I'm leaning back. Spider-Boss says, Dom getting beaten up by Rio on live TV is must-see TV. For some people, not for all. Wiggly says, I'd say the best year for me was 1998. What I will say is 1998, not a great year for wrestling. Oh, happy birthday, Sid. Congratulations. Sean, I'm not really a Joe Hendry guy. I don't really know him. I think I met him, but I don't really know him. Declan thinks 2019 was the best year of wrestling because it was a women's main event for WrestleMania 35. Was that 2019? Sid says, any news on ODB returning to wrestling? No news whatsoever for me. Calvin says, who do you think was the top female superstar of the early years of the Attitude Era? China. Michael says, the WNBA has had an enormous surge of viewership this past year. Absolutely. Calvin says, I'm shocked Joe Hendry didn't win the world title. I thought for sure they'd pull the trigger. There's time yet, and as I mentioned, they do want to sign a new deal. HCar says, Tom, what is your favourite Kane match? Difficult, because Kane is objectively not a good wrestler. I think it's the one against Bret Hart when he was Isaac Yankem DDS. Get the Table says, you mentioned Sami Zayn would be your guest for the fourth member of the original Bloodline. Yep, we spoke about this a couple of months ago, that the intention was to have a 4v4 Jey, Jimmy and Sami Zayn returning. There's some convincing to do, but I do think Sami would be easier to convince than Jey Uso has been. And to be fair, he's been pretty easy. Spider-Boss says, I think Mercedes Money probably will lose the AEW TBS women's title after reaching the 1 year mark as champion, and it will be Julia Hart who takes the title off Mercedes. Sid says, what is your favourite gimmick of all time? Mine is Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero. Again, Bloodline's good stuff. This version of Roman is fun. There's some potential tag teams I liked. I really liked, for example, The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro. That was good stuff. I briefly liked the Buddy Murphy stuff. Tell you what. The Planet's champion, Daniel Bryan. That was good stuff. Jackopedia says, do you think Tony Khan made a mistake not taking a deal for Ring of Honor to be on CW? No. I think he made a mistake in buying something he had no intention of really using. Ross says, what I've seen of TNA I've liked, but it's finding time because behind WWE, New Japan and AEW, although TNA could catch AEW on my list. TNA has been doing good stuff. Riyadh says, I'm assuming Roman is going to acknowledge Sami and they just make up. We'll see how that goes. And HCar thinks 1997 is the best year of wrestling because of the debut of Kane and Stone Cold versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Yes, David, Kane was indeed a dentist in WWE way back when. Next piece of news. Samantha Irving. Samantha Irving has been called out on Twitter by the same idiots who used to harass me before I blocked them. Good old Michael. He was contacting me non-stop in the DMs, accusing me of lying and then apologising 20 minutes later because he'd listened to fucking everyone and then pretend that he knew what he was talking about better than I did. Awkward. He's tried to basically say Samantha Irving hates WWE and is piling on. In reality, PWInsider shared a completely false report, which potentially may have even been intentionally leaked by WWE to try and badmouth, and that caused Samantha Irving to be, I think rightfully, frustrated. It's not difficult to leave someone alone, but far too many people find it difficult to not harass women. Yeah, that's what I said. Anyone piling on to Samantha Irving is ridiculous. She didn't want to be a ring announcer, but when she became a ring announcer, she gave it a whole damn soul. And she became fantastic at it. Imagine now her in the Paul Heyman role, where she takes the microphone, introduces her client, and then heads to the outside. She would be fantastic. PWInsider have now confirmed my reporting that she's looking for outside interests and is not planning to go to AEW anytime soon. So finally, we got to the truth. PWInsider have had a few moments recently, and I'm still waiting for a retraction about the original Samantha Irving story they published, about AJ Styles being on SmackDown when he wasn't, about Shinsuke Nakamura being on SmackDown when he wasn't. It's getting to be unoriginal. Unoriginal. Speaking of, PWInsider reported that men and women in WWE are starting to be paid roughly the same. This is true of Charlotte Flair and the offer that's on the table for Becky Lynch, but that's where the similarity ends. People like Bayley are earning a lot more, not as much as the top men. People like Nia Jax are earning more, nowhere near as much as the top men. And you've also got people on Raw like Rhea Ripley, like Liv Morgan. They're earning more. They're not earning anywhere close to the level of a Seth Rollins, of a Roman Reigns, of a Jey Uso, of a Cody Rhodes. Nowhere close. Damian Priest is earning more than Rhea Ripley. That's the situation. And honestly, while we do have a couple of women who are fighting for it, the fact that Becky Lynch isn't there right now is being felt hard in that locker room. With 87 people watching, 43 likes, 2 more gets us to 45. Let's keep that going. Okay, let's catch up with the chat. Spider-Ball says Bryan Danielson and Kane as tag team champions was fun to watch. Team Hell No was funny. And Michael says the booking of Ring of Honor is so frustrating. Riyadh says any new update on Kenny Omega's expected return, Tom? He's returning to training at the moment, and I do expect him to return in a couple of months. Chucky PD says agreed Tom on the Ring of Honor botch by TK. Should have had a plan, but he felt like he just wanted to thumb his nose at WWE and say, I got this and you don't. I wouldn't go that far. I do think he wanted the tape library and it has benefited him, but I don't think it's worked out. David says, will we see Bryan Danielson return to AEW or has he retired? He is not formally retired. He will wrestle again. And my villain says, hey Tom, hope you had a great weekend. I was wondering over the weekend, do we see Jey turn on Roman during the Wargames match for being disrespected? I don't know. I don't think Jey Uso, as popular as he is right now, should turn heel. Juan says, according to Dave Meltzer, he said the learning tree, Chris Jericho winning the Ring of Honor title, is to get Ring of Honor a TV deal. I wonder how many networks are desperate for the learning tree. He might actually be onto something. I've spoken about this in the past few weeks. AEW was planning to pivot towards more established stars like Jon Moxley that we've seen, like Mercedes Moné, and I mentioned Chris Jericho. Since then, he's become Ring of Honor champion, and yes, he's considered a much more marketable name when it comes to TV deals. So, he might actually be onto something there. Ross says, the broken Matt Hardy gimmick just didn't work for me. I understand it was over, but I just didn't connect with it. I didn't either. I'm a big Matt Hardy fan, but I didn't necessarily get what he was going for there. Alyssa says, who win Crown Jewel on Saturday Championship? Me, because I won't be watching, which is a win. Declan says, we need to stop online bullying, leave people alone. As a victim of some of this myself, I wholeheartedly agree. Spider says, people on social media criticise Samantha Irving. It's so annoying. She just gave her opinion on people on social media, talked BS about her. Absolutely. She is entitled to have opinions. She is a human being, not yours to play with. Neem says, it seems like the IWC is turning on Samantha Irving just because she left WWE. The IWC is not. The IWC also includes everyone here who is not doing so. Michael says, I hate it for Samantha. God forbid that someone has other interests. Absolutely. Trikipedia says, sad how people are just attacking Samantha Irving. She did nothing wrong, left in a good way, hasn't trashed WWE or any people in it. She doesn't deserve the hate. I agree. KJ says, what's up, Tom? What's up, KJ? Good to see you, mate. No, Riyadh, no thoughts on football during a wrestling stream. Hector said, it's sad people take it to the point of harassing those who don't know in real life just because they have nothing better to do. Yeah. People have empty lives. And they decide, because they're sad and pathetic, they need to bring people down to their level. No. Wiggly says, weird question, Tom. Can wrestlers ever buy out their contracts to go to another promotion, or can a rival promotion do that, like say transfers in football? There is no clause permitting it. There is also no clause denying it. This has happened with Naomi. Bailey says, how long do you see Julia, Stephanie Vaca and Zaria working in NXT before they get the call-up? That was covered earlier on during the show. I do not expect them to be there long. From what I've been told, and I'll just double check the quote here, they're in NXT to learn the style, but this is WWE's new fast track in action. Wiggly, you've asked that like 5 times. The answer is still no. Trekipedia says, did you see Tony Schiavone on his podcast blaming bots and other fake fans for AEW's woes? No, because I'm not going to waste my time doing stuff like that. Rick says, hey Tom, I saw you post on Twitter, about how The Undertaker was regretting the Trump interview on his podcast. Did he get any subscriptions cancelled or just some online backlash? He was personally disappointed. He was not happy with the interview. He was not particularly happy with the line of questioning that Donald Trump took with him, and he didn't feel like it drew the attention he was looking for. Landon just says, yeet Bloodline, which is absolutely right. HCar says, Tom, what is your favourite Raw moment? Probably the Festival of Friendship. Good stuff. Shargane says, not sure if anyone saw, but Bully Ray T showing up to NXT tomorrow on today's Busted Open. Could see him and Trick versus Paige Ridge at NXT 2300. Declan says, I reckon people are jealous. Yeah. Calvin says, who do you think were 2 of the hottest female superstars of the Ruthless Aggression era? By hottest, I'd imagine what you mean is the most popular. That one, I wouldn't be able to tell you because I didn't watch the Ruthless Aggression era. If you're asking me to comment on women's bodies, you can fuck off. Alyssa says, who win Crown Jewel Cody Gunter? Good question. A Villain says, can we see The Rock enter Wargames or come out towards the end again? We did cover that in the top story. By all means, just rewind and we'll see it. Riyadh, not as of yet because I'm still breaking the wall. This part's going to go soon. And then I'm going to have to repaint it for a backdrop. Then we're going to replaster everything. Then I'm going to paint it. It will be white. And then I'm going to put something in this here nook. This here nook. And that should hopefully be interesting. One says, Samantha Irving said she went to AEW Collision to see Ricochet this past Saturday. Why wouldn't she? She can do whatever the fuck she wants. John says, since Gigi Dolan was in the opening package for Halloween Havoc, could that mean she's returning soon? Did she return at Halloween Havoc? Because there's your answer. Calvin says, I hate when people harass other people because of their opinions. Life would be boring if we always agree with each other. I agree. Declan says, my favourite rock movie was Tooth Fairy. What's everyone's favourite rock movie? Give me the deets. Michael says, why has Roxanne been in NXT for so long? Because the WWE want to bring her up a house of fire and there's no one for her to really work with that she can beat at the moment. Wiggly says, has there ever been a case of a rival promotion paying another to get a talent? Yes. Naomi. Spiderboss says, Jericho's first Ring of Honor title reign was supposedly to help Ring of Honor get a TV deal and nothing happened. I wonder what Tony Khan thought to put the Ring of Honor title on Jericho again. Here we go again. Everton says, who do you suspect as surprise entries for the Royal Rumble? Once again, Triple H does not like surprise entries. There will be very few, if any. People have been disappointed for years because they keep getting excited for surprises that don't happen. Scorpio says, watch the pig. Trekipedia says, is Devon Dudley retired? I think he said something about his neck being messed up and the doctor saying he needed surgery. Devon Dudley has chosen to retire. Wiggly says, the hottest talent of the Ruthless Aggression era was, of course, Latino Heat himself, Eddie Guerrero. One says, I mean, Donald Trump did fill up the Madison Square Garden last night, and of course Hulk Hogan praised him. Okay, moving on. Calvin says, I haven't seen Devon since Impact's 1000th episode. Hector says, I figured it out, Tom. The random people on Twitter are just mad that she gets to spend time with that beautiful man, Ricochet, and they don't. David says, are you a Blackpool football fan? Once again, this is a wrestling stream. Rhea says, the discourse around Samantha Irving got so damn toxic and tiring, just let her do what the hell she wants. Yeah, pretty simple. Should be easy. Calvin's favourite rock movie is Game Plan, not one I've heard of. Trekkipedia says, my favourite rock movie is The Scorpion King, but Wiggly it's Gridiron Gang. I love the Tooth Fairy. HK says, Tom, do you think Big E movie? No, he does sometimes, but sometimes he sits down. Wiggly says, I quite like The Mummy Returns. HK says, my favourite rock movie is Fast and Furious 5, and I'm a villain says The Rock's Walking Tall. Spider also says Baywatch. Baywatch was genuinely a fun film. I enjoyed that it didn't take itself seriously. Gavin says, Hornswoggle and Eugene would make awesome surprise entries. Once again, Triple H does not like surprises. Don't get your hopes up. HK says, Tom, do you think Big E return? That depends on the scans that he's still waiting to get. Trekkipedia says, thank you, Tom. I was telling my friends about Devon. They swore up and down he's going to wrestle at NXT 2300. Like he may be there, but he won't wrestle. He chose to retire, so we'll see how that goes. David says, are you a fan of celebrities in wrestling? Depends on the celebrities. I think Logan Paul, while being an astonishing dickhead, is an incredibly talented wrestler. Blue says, Tom, I've noticed that when AEW has a massive drop in ratings, they no longer recover like they used to. Lose something like 50k and a 0.2 in the demo. Why do you think that happens? Because as your ratings number gets smaller, it's harder to regain it because you've lost viewership. It's harder to succeed when you're already losing, basically. Everton says, will Randy dethrone Cody after WrestleMania? That's personally what I can see, yes. Trekkipedia says, Triple H doesn't want to take away from anyone else's spot with surprise entries in the Royal Rumble and Women's Royal Rumble. Yes, that is correct. Next up, bit of news. You may have seen all over social media the Obafemi rumours that everyone is suddenly hearing that Obafemi is about to be called up. Funnily enough, not a single person has sourced those rumours. I haven't seen a single person say where these supposed rumours come from. So they're not rumours. They're not rumours. They're guesses. They're pretend. They're not real. If everyone is reporting on a rumour, but no one is telling you where that rumour is coming from, it's coming from them. They're making it up. Now, as regards Obafemi, he's been incredibly well received in WWE. He's been incredibly well received by Triple H. There is a call-up planned for him. As regards this week, wouldn't expect it. Would not expect it at all. Spider-Boss says, currently who is the highest paid woman in wrestling today? Charlotte Flair. H-Car says, do you think Tyson Fury might return to WWE? He wants to, don't think he will. Tricky B says, my feelings on Obafemi are until he actually appears, it's not a call-up. Yes, even if he does appear, it's not necessarily a call-up. Wiggly says, here's another thought with regards to not having surprise entrance to the Royal Rumble. With WWE doing so much additional shows and programming of opportunity for former talents and past legends to appear on, there's little need to bring them back to the Rumble simply for a brief, loud pop. True. Everton says, is there a plan for Cena versus Orton? Winner achieves 17th world title and becomes arguably the best. Also, what do you make of Braun versus Jacob versus Obafemi? How do you think that match would go? Firstly, no, there is no plan for Cena versus Orton for a championship. John Cena does not want a 17th world title. He does not want it. As regards your fantasy booking, I don't know because that's fantasy booking. John says, I could see Oba being called up after Survivor Series or Royal Rumble. Yeah, he could be called up at any time, but he may be called up at. Ria says, I hope Obafemi won't get lost in the shuffle. When he gets called up, I really like him. Pretty much. Next up then, a little bit of an update on the channel. Over the last 48 hours, the YouTube channel broke 100,000 views. 100,000 views. The target for the year was 1 million over the course of the entire year. In the last 2 days, we had 100,000, which means now we only need about 60,000 in the next 2 months in order to achieve that plan. Now, this has largely come from the Shorts feed. However, the Shorts feed is also naturally directing several hundred extra viewers to spoiler warning. So if you're new here, welcome. Hope you enjoy what you see. It's driving some extra traffic. It's ensuring that people find us a lot easier. And while a lot of people are just there for the shorts, as I continue to create new content, I should be able to redirect traffic, at least some of them are interested, to the long form videos. This is obviously, as you might imagine, a very exciting time. Also, over the last month, we're on track to gain 1,000 subscribers. 1,000 subscribers. When we went live today, we had just over 8,300. We are growing at an average of 23 subscribers, per day. Every day. Which is phenomenal. I will continue to work on new long form concepts to bring traffic to that section, because ultimately Shorts feed does not exactly pay a lot of money. To be blunt, that 100,000 viewers has netted me about $8. But what happens with the Shorts feed is you train it. So if you hit one viral short, every short thereafter is likely to get a few more views. Because I had one short do very well, it added an extra couple of thousand views to other shorts, which then added a couple of hundred views to other shorts, then added 10 or so views to other shorts, etc, etc, etc. It becomes cumulative. It also means that after having a short where 100,000 people watched, I didn't have a short that 100,000 people watched, but in the last 48 hours I've had 100,000 views. That means that my next shorts, those people are going to find them. So it does become cumulative, and it does mean that before you know it, if I can keep this momentum going, we're going to be absolutely unstoppable. Just wanted to share that news because in many ways I want to give myself a little pat on the back and say we're doing damn good work right now. Trekipedia says, I like Triple H takes his time and doesn't rush people. Kiana got hurt, so they shelved the plan. Also, people trying to say nasty stuff about where Carmelo is pushed. Sad when people assume. Yes, it very much is. Wiggly says, wow, 100k. Everton says, unreal, Tom, keep it up. Shard Game says, are we going to end 2024 with Keith Lee making more appearances on WWE TV than on AEW? Don't know, but Keith Lee has long-term health concerns, so I'm not going to be racing anyone for it. KJ says, speaking of Obafemi being called up, Raw tonight is in Hershey, PA, site of NXT last night, so it's possible he's there and appears, but whoever started the rumour will say they're right. That said, no one is claiming they started the rumour. So it'll be interesting if that's where they come from. David says, Rosemary turned on Wendy Chu at TNA and BFG because they didn't win the tag team titles. Certainly Rosemary is doing good stuff with Wendy Chu. Calvin says, where's Kiana James? Backstage. Riyadh says, wow, Tom, congrats. Keep it up, thank you. Trekipedia says, congrats, Tom. More proof good things happen to good people. Thank you very kindly for that. Sean says, as WWE liked LA Knight's reign as US champion, could it lead to a world title? Yes. No. Bailey says, congratulations, Tom. Subscribers are also too. Yes, they very much are. Spider-Boss says, currently the women's tag team division and the NXT women's division has been better than the main roster women's division. That does happen, and it does mean good things for the future. AgeCar says, congratulations on 100,000 views, Tom. Thank you very kindly. It's a very good time to be Tom Colohue. Everton says, was the plan Braun versus Gunter before Goldberg came back? And who do you think would have won that match? No and Gunter. Rick says, I think The Rock's best movie is Pain and Gain, where he plays a bumbling bodybuilder. Interesting. Luke and Grace, welcome, says, on the subject of Obafemi, my friend visited me during Halloween Havoc and instantly became obsessed with the man. She's never watched wrestling before, just wanting to share that. He's a big deal. Big. Brad says, great growth, Tom. Thank you, Brad. Sean says, thoughts on Fallon Henley winning the women's North American title. I mean, they wanted that North American title for a reason. They knew the top championship would be swallowed up, so it's a good way of doing things. Kai says, what happened to your show with Nick Barbati? We eventually cancelled it after more than 3 years. We were very happy with what we produced, but ultimately I wanted my Saturdays back. Declan says, congratulations, Tom. Thank you, Declan. HCar says, Tom, you should do a spoiler warning with a special guest with you. Why? I don't understand, like, how spoiler warning would be spoiler warning if we had someone else here. It wouldn't really be spoiler warning. That's not what we do here. Everton says, will the Y6 be on Raw tonight? Will it be a vignette or a QR code? I expect to see them on Raw. Sean says, I heard Grayson Waller won his match when he appeared at PWA. Can anyone confirm? Spider-Boss says, 3 years ago, champion versus champion was Becky versus Charlotte. Now it'll be Liv versus Nia Crown Jewel. WWE did really move on from Becky and Charlotte. Yep, I spent quite a while pointing out that the WWE were planning to move on from the horsewomen. That is exactly what has happened. You have, Ross, it's very true. Says, I've been here since the early days, but I'm delighted your channel continues to grow. Thank you for that. Part of it is down to people like yourself who spread the word on Twitter. We haven't had that much of it recently, but when we do, we tend to get quite a boost here. So yeah, if anyone does want to continue spreading the word, take a clip, do what you want to do, just get it out there. You can absolutely cut up my show and turn it into shorts if you'd like, for your own channel. You have absolute permission from me to do that. Whatever works for you. We have people like Mick who translate my news into German. If you have a channel or if you have content and you want to share news, we're right here. It's free and it's available, and you can do whatever the hell you want with it. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Spider-Boss as well, says congrats for the 100k. Thanks, Wiggly. We'll see you soon. Trekkipedia says Get Smart is an awesome rock movie. Daniel says the moment Stratton cashes in and hits and wins, Charlotte's music will hit. Trekkipedia says my fans say congrats, Tom, and that you do a great job. Oh, appreciate you. Last couple of pieces of news then. We have 82 people watching. 2 more likes gets us to 50. Dave Meltzer has confirmed what I've been reporting about Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens for Saturday night main event. And the Saturday night main event is being treated as a PLE. He's also mentioned there's a planned rematch between Priest and Gunter. That's Damian Priest versus Gunter. Now that is indeed planned. I can confirm that. The intention being that will reheat the feud between Damian Priest and Finn Balor if we get to watch Finn Balor screw Damian Priest. I'd watch it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. David says, I've never seen an Oberfemi match. I have always something else to do when he's on NXT. You might want to consider it. Edgecar says, what's your favourite John Cena movie? He's been in some good ones, to be fair. Spider-Boss says, if we ever see Rhea demolish Dominic, Liv should be banned from ringside. That ain't going to happen. Worked Wrestling are back. We spoke about Worked Wrestling on Friday and how they'd completely vanished for a while. Well, they're back. And they're reporting that Sami Zayn might be joining the OG Bloodline for Survivor Series. For those not aware, this is something that I personally reported 2 months ago. So it's interesting to see news that has been exclusive here starting to pop up elsewhere. If you're interested in exclusive news that you can't find anywhere else, this is the time, this is the place. Make sure you're subscribed, make sure you hit like, and make sure you are here to hear it. In the meantime though, we have been live for 53 minutes. We peaked at 97 viewers. We've had 48 likes. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for joining me. This has been Spoiler Warning. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. And I'll see you all very soon.